easily just take a transcript and use it as like a written testimonial and that sort of thing. So, but anyway, again, the goal is to be courageous. But hey, if I get 10 videos, I get 10 videos. Again, it's out of almost 50 people that signed up. So,
has anyone explicitly said they don't want to be on camera?
They just said being on camera makes them uncomfortable. One person in particular, she said she'll do it because she wants to support the gym. She asked that I don't like post it directly to like Facebook or something, but if I use it for like something for the website, she's fine with that.
Okay.
She's like, I don't love being on camera, but I want to support you and I want to support the gym, and so I'll do it. I was like, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think that's kind of the point. So,
is it because, I mean, they've read their contracts, right? That
have they read it? Yeah. Like they do kind of sign. Now, the fact that I'm like
Summer and James, who I'm assuming James doesn't come anymore because he had left before I had left, Williams.
And then there was one other person that read it.
But when they sent me the email of like, I read this thing about boat storage. What is this? And I was like, wow, you're one of only like you're 1% of people that sign up and don't. And I mean, because we're conditioned, right? How many times do you sign up for the new Apple operating system and don't actually read, like, you know, we are selling all of your information to China.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes. And we do it blindly.
Right. So
you don't want to be inconvenienced by reading.
I don't care. Whatever. Sell whatever you want. I'm a sellout already. I've sold out my soul.
If you're on the internet at all, China already has your info.
Yeah. And why is it China that's got to be the bad guy? I mean, come on. They're just the flavor of the year.
Yeah,
they're the easy soundbite.
We need villains in action movies now. So,
very good point. Right? Let's
recycle for a long time, and then it was like
recycle them.
Middle East.
Well, they were kind of the late Cold War, or maybe early. I'm trying to think of Bond villains. So they got lumped in with Dr. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the concern isn't that they're on camera, because feasibly you could be taking pictures of them and using their likeness at any time that they are in the gym and receiving your services. So is it more the conscious awareness of doing something that they perceive they will then be judged by?
So maybe, I mean, I could see that. Like, why don't people like to be on camera? Like, they don't like people don't like to be on camera because they don't think they look good on camera. Maybe they don't think they sound good on camera. The camera adds 10 pounds. How many cameras were actually on you?
But I guess that's what I'm saying. Of
going in, being judged. Like, so I think maybe that's.
Or is it just the fact that I'm consciously making the effort to set up the camera and do it, whereas when you take a picture in class or a video in class and then post that on social media, which, you know, everyone who comes to the gym has given authorization for you to do that.
Yeah.
Then it's not them consciously choosing to do it. And so there's space to absolve themselves of responsibility for perhaps any of the perception that they internally have, personally have, of like, oh God, all the stuff that you just said. Versus if I put myself on camera, then there's no one to blame but me.
Yeah. And it's right. And I think it's also, I think there's just an awkwardness. So if I do it, they don't have to think about it. But as soon as they do it themselves, it's like, it feels cringy and awkward, and
why?
Maybe they feel.
Where is that? That's what I'm asking. What's the difference? The end result is the same.
Yeah.
They're on camera. So, and if we start at a point of you're not on camera, and the end result is there is media available of you to place in a public forum, why then is there a delta from going from start to finish? What's the difference in the middle, right? Is it how it occurred that makes the difference? Because the why is the same.
Is it like
The what is the same. Is it the how that is different?
is it like signing that Apple contract where it's like, if I do it, they don't have to think. It's just whatever. I don't have to think about it. But when they do it, they have to think about it, and so it becomes more. Then it does start creeping in the thoughts of whether it's judgment or discomfort or.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm answering your question with a question. I guess I'm trying to reiterate what you're saying in a way that makes sense to me. But I guess I'm answering your question with a question. In which case, I would ask them that question.
Which would be what? What would the question you'd ask them be?
What's the difference? I take a picture of you in the gym, or I take a video of the gym and post on social media, but then I ask you to do one for me for the same end result. What's the difference?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's for them to decide. I think sometimes I wonder if it's just like, whatever, you took a video, I surrender. But also it's like, okay, you're taking a picture of me in this really cool pose with all this weight. It's a way of celebrating me do this like thing. But now the onus is on me to like, it's not an action shot. It's just them speaking. So I don't know. Maybe I think it's a lot of different ways to come from. Do you mind?
Do you see echoes? Do you see echoes of this of people that have paused to sign up for things like the Open or right?
Yeah.
Like when things become or have a perception of objective, not judgment, but objective measuring. Do you see a similar sort of bristling?
Like the same people, they're bristling at this, bristle at that as well.
Or just maybe that's a individual pattern for that person. I just mean in general, like or individually for them. I guess I'm leading the question. I hear an echo of a similar trait, and not even trait, but a similar tendency of personal responsibility. Right, the agency.
Yeah.
That if I use passive voice, if I depict myself as not a victim, but I am the receiver of forces out of my control, then I don't have to assume agency for something, for an action, for a happenstance, for a situation that is uncomfortable.
I'm just a victim.
Right, and victim. I don't want to use that word or term because I think until we define, because there are victims, right? Like there are things where somebody is the victim of a malicious and deliberate intended cause of harm. But in the context of your desired topic for this week, I think there's room to connect it back to other conversations, and maybe this was my
maybe casualty is a better word. Is casualty a better word?
Maybe I just the metaphor of that seems rather dire, right? Like, I mean,
I was being slightly facetious.
Yeah, but I think it's more of if I am simply a unwittingly knowing participant in a situation, and something goes the way that does not meet my desired end state, then I don't have to take responsibility for being a participant. I can just say, oh, well, it just happened and it stinks, and woe is me, and why is everything so unfair? And but I mean, again, that's a very broad and kind of, I don't know, judgmental painting of said person.
It can be like a more milder version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. If I were to say, Eric, I really want to support you in the gym, and I know that, and I'd love to support my team and get these extra points, but looking at myself on camera makes me address personal issues that I don't want to address. So as much as I love you, I love my self-ignorance more, and I'm not going to take I'm not going to take any shots of myself. But I can give you money. I could give you, is there something else that I could offer you? Because if I'm truthfully saying, I love you, I love the gym, and I want to support you, but I don't want to do this thing because it makes me have to address issues of my life that I've carved out and buried, and I don't want to address them. But I also do truly mean that I love you and I love and want to support the gym. Is there something, right? So if somebody were to actually say that, how would you then say to them, oh, come on, be courageous? I mean, that's a douchebag move, right? You're basically telling that person, you don't meet my model of courage, right? And I'm not right, but that's sort of like,
no, because it's funny, like thinking about it, and I'm like, I could say that the douchebag thing and say be courageous, but also kind of I feel like I could take two paths here. One, I can meet them where they're at and say, okay, really, what I really want is a testimonial. You're not comfortable being in front of a camera. Are you willing to like write a testimonial for me?
Yeah.
And like write a testimonial for me, and we'll use that instead.
Yeah. And so in there you did like, gosh, man, you're good, dude. That's a good move of like, wow, this person was just vulnerable and truly authentically honest with me. And you turned it around and met them in that transparency and authenticity and honesty, and said, look, I don't give a shit if you're on camera. I don't give a shit if you take a picture. I really just want the testimonial because I need more of them. I've got like 4, and they're all written by me.
Yeah.
Right? Like
written by Derek Schoip.
Right. And then the person goes, oh my God, yes, I will totally do that. And you're like, cool. What can I have 3 questions, and you just answer them, send it to me. And I don't even need to use your name. I can just use and they're like, oh my God, you can use your name. I don't care. Totally. I just don't want to be on camera. Now it's like, holy crap, the emotional collateral that the two of you just exchanged with each other is worth 1,000 times more than this person having to be on camera and stuff. Because I would argue both of you at that moment were courageous with each other, and there was no need for anyone to, not bully, but, egg someone into being curious, courageous, consistent, blah, 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 blah.
Now, devil's advocate side of me.
Yeah.
Which I think rarely ever shows its head. I think other people usually need to play it for me. What about the people that did? They're like, look, I was uncomfortable, but I made the video. And so, like, is it fair that they still get the points? Is it still fair? Like, well, you said a video, and so I did a video. You didn't say we could write it. I would have rather written it had I known. Right? It's like,
right. I mean,
gosh darn points.
I guess what
You've been around. People will game this as much as they can.
Right. And so I mean, what an awesome opportunity. What's the next question that you want to ask them? And maybe we put this one, because that's I would say, like, we'll try and remember this. And so put a hold on that question and come back to your topic prompt.
Yeah.
Because you're the teacher in this scenario. I'm just the one that wants the tickle fight. It's inside joke, folks. And if you want access to that inside joke,
if you want access to us
send Eric either a video testimonial of the podcast and how much you're enjoying it, or $5, which he and I will split
3 ways.
3 ways. Who's the third? Who gets the third? Oh, it's our producer sitting here next to me.
Right. Charlie's there. Awesome.
Producer Craig. So do you want me just to read it?
Yeah, please read it.
All right. We all want certain things: good health, more money, a bar muscle up. We want these things, but we also have things that can get in the way of us getting there. My health would be better if I slept more, but I'm at the mercy of my kid's schedule. I want to make more money, but there's not a job for me out there. I want a bar muscle up, but I don't have the strength to even do a pull-up. How many of our limitations are self-imposed, and how can we try and figure out what's in our control, what's not, and figuring that out, still get where we want to go? So from my perspective, I see a connection between the conversation that we are having, the warm-up conversation that we're having right now, into that. If someone brought that to you, what would be your answer, or your how would you engage with them without just kind of placating and,
oh yeah, life's hard, like I get it, you can't get to the like,
oh geez, that's be like, I'm not staying at this gym, that guy's an asshole.
it's funny because all those are like,
Did you not sleep well last night?
Oh, you have kids, I get it. Right. I get it. Yeah, I mean I think it's one of those things where too, it's like, I think it's one of those, if I really wanted to give a clear answer, and it's something I'm trying to be better about myself, is maybe I don't need to give you the right answer right now, but think on it for a minute. Because sometimes it's I want to give you what you need right now. I want to give you the answer you need right now. But sometimes that's probably not the best answer. I feel like if I sit on it for a minute, it helps me out. But I think it might be one of those, like, dig a little bit deeper on, what are these actual limitations? Like, yeah, my kids have a sleep schedule, and I'm kind of at the mercy of their sleep schedule for myself, to make time for myself. Well, what is that? What are you doing with the rest of your time? Like, I'm at the mercy of my kids' sleep schedule. They don't go to sleep till 8:30. So the only time that I get to be up and do things is early in the morning or late at night. And I'm kind of like, this is me just kind of like, yeah, this is what my day kind of looks like. I feel like I am occasionally at the mercy of their schedule. And so I think it's kind of looking at it as like, well, I can't change the way they sleep. They sleep how they sleep. I think there's some things I could do, but for the most part, like, I don't really, Fee's going to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom because that's what she does. I'm sorry, I took your question and made it about me.
No, but I mean, you'd have. I mean, the question is: so are you still in the conversation with the person?
Yeah, I think I just got. I think I ventured.
Has the free intro suddenly gone to like, I came to get some squats and I didn't know I was.
We're not here to talk about you. We're here to talk
I was going to be your therapist.
I'm like laying down at this point, talking to the new prospect.
You're curled up. You're curled up around an ab mat.
My mom's making me play the violin. I wanted to play the drums. I told her I wanted to play the drums, but she made me play the violin.
In a sense, though, by doing that, right? But by doing what you just did, which is awesome, what were you not having to do? What were you avoiding? What did I ask you? And then that's the move is always like, okay, like I got it, but you still never answered the question. but you did do something. So what was the scenario that we created? You're in a conversation with a client. They ask you all this, and you even said, like, you said from the very get-go, which was awesome, like, I'm practicing not feeling like I need to give them the right answer right then, which could be problematic. And like, what the fuck's the right answer? But then you went into kind of your own examination, but never came back and said, what is it that this person is looking for,
right,
for you to do for them?
right. Because I think I did the thing that I usually do is I try to relate to them, but then I don't loop it back to like, what is this person actually asking me?
And what if you actually make them feel uncomfortable and challenge them? What's the potential in that scenario? If you were to actually challenge them, what is the potential of the interaction?
I feel like it could go two ways. They'd be like, yeah, no, this is like they're uncomfortable and don't like being uncomfortable and leave.
And who made them uncomfortable?
This guy.
And then, so what did they associate you to their comfort and uncomfort? They don't like you.
They don't like me.
And they don't like being uncomfortable.
Ooh.
They don't like somebody.
Even this is like, it's not a real, it's a real scenario, but it's not really happening.
Right. And so
I don't like this made up person not liking me.
Right. So instead of, and you've already admitted that, and I know that, right? Like, and I'm totally in agreement, because it's so much easier just to tell somebody what they want to hear, or just not even challenge them.
Yeah.
And we could de-escalate this even more. Like, somebody's not getting depth in an air squat, but the workout is, 12 heavy, 3 rounds, 9 heavy deadlifts, and 9 wall balls, right? And then they take 1 minute rest, 3 rounds, 9 heavy deadlifts, 9 wall balls. And they're going for time. They're trying to beat the person next to them. It's the 5:15 class, and it's, egos. And, let's give them a name. Spike is just consistently not getting to depth in his wall balls. Do you tell him?
Do I tell him?
How do you tell him? Do you give him just a cue from across the gym? Do you make him stop? Like because you're gonna cue him, he's not gonna listen. You're gonna try and make him stop, and he's gonna be pissed because he loses to Molly, who he's always in competition with next to him.
So that scenario, if I'm in I guess from experience, they're not listening. I would say they're not listening. They're definitely not. It could be in the heat of the moment. They're just not hearing it. Okay.
Bullshit.
You and I know. Right. But sometimes it's so like it may be one of those things after the workout, like I'm not gonna, I don't.
But in the sense, right? But you see, like, how it's so low stakes, right?
Yeah.
But what is your charter as a CrossFit coach? Like, what is the scope of the practice? And it's mechanics, consistency, then intensity. And so this person is hijacking your scope of practice. And instead of, and we all do it, we've all done it, instead of recognizing, oh, I am not holding up to the agreed upon arrangement of this relationship, but instead of taking ownership and responsibility for my failure to meet the scope of my responsibility as a professional, I blame the athlete. Maybe they're not hearing it. They just don't listen. They don't want to get better. They're too competitive. They Instead of saying, look, I unapologetically will not let you move. I don't need to be a dick about it. I don't need to be an asshole about it. But I need to figure out a cue. I need to figure out a delivery method of that cue so that the person reaches what they have said is their stated goals, which is improved fitness.
Yeah.
And if
Which
fitness
that
is,
like
go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, going back to the scenario of they're not getting the depth. I'm telling them depth. They're not getting down there. They're in competition with Molly. Like, that could also be in the moment. Just a quick cue, put the ball underneath them and say, touch that ball.
Right.
I'm not stopping them. I'm not slowing them down. I'm just making sure they get there.
I would say that's a bit, but I would offer that if you've done that more than once already, if you've had to do that once and you're finding you're about to have to do it again, you're putting a Band-Aid on a gushing head wound.
Yeah.
And
we're assuming that we're past the Band-Aid.
Right. Yeah. That this individual requires, not because I know what's best for them, but because I have honestly determined what are the boundaries of my personal responsibility in the scope of my practice as a CrossFit coach, that people will move to full range of motion mechanically well, consistently, so that they do the movement safely. Right. And then so that then they can add intensity, speed, volume, load, blah, blah, blah. So maybe it's rewinding the tape back to your transparency and authenticity with the person with the testimonial is like, in the moment of the workout, clock's running, standing in front, like blocking the person's ability to do the wall ball and say, Spike, what are you doing? Like, what's going on here? And like, and he walks out of the class, right? Or throws a temper tantrum, or he's like, what the fuck, man? I'm trying to do my wall balls. Okay, well, wall ball, full range of motion with the load. You haven't hit it. We've talked about this before. You're not mechanically moving well. Certainly not consistently. I need you to either go down and load, or we need to not do the wall balls or so, right? Like I'm losing time. And I'm like, hey man, right? Like what? So it's that, like, how much are you, not you, but the CrossFit professional, the coach professional, willing to sit in that uncomfortableness with the person to let them figure out what it is they do or do not actually want? Because it's like, you could keep doing these wall balls all day long and call them wall balls. You could keep doing fill in the blank movement. We're making it about movement. I come back to this question of, here's this person who says they want something, right? We go back. This is a great scenario. We all want certain things: good health, more money, a bar muscle up. Okay, what is good health? What is more money? And what the hell does a bar muscle up facilitate for somebody? So when do you know that you have reached your goal of good health? How do you measure that? How do you objectively know that you've reached it? And then once you've reached it, is that it? Are you done? Right. And then same with more money. How do I hit the goal of more money?
Mo money.
Right? Like, what is, and so is that it? Like, once I have more money, am I done? Like, is that like, I close out my account? I don't have to do anything anymore. Like, did they just bury me? Am I cremated? Like, what does that look like? And then the bar muscle up. So my health would be better if I slept more, but I'm at the mercy of my kid's schedule. Okay, so who is the active participant in that process of all of those variables to reach this undefined and nebulous state of good health? Yeah, I would say, and then
Listeners, I'm pointing to me.
sorry, yeah, but what, so then what, how is that defined? Like, what does that mean? What is, right? Like,
Yeah.
but if they just want somebody, so is the question, like, do you just want like somebody to, like, hey man, I see you, I love you, and you're good. That ringing in the background is uh, my bread is cooking.
Ooh.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna, here, we'll make this an active.
Is this gonna be a spinoff, Baking with Jack?
Yeah, right. We're giving it a. That's funny.
We'll start a new podcast called Loaves After Loads.
Loads. That was awesome. Right off the top of your head.
That's most of the good stuff.
Can you see it? We got the.
Oh yeah.
Oven spring.
That kitchen looks magnificent, by the way.
Thanks, buddy. But now it has to go back into. I'd have to go back into the oven for about 15 more minutes.
Get that little crisp on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's the process.
The other side of the counter.
There you go. Awesome. So yeah, going back. That looks good, by the way. I wish I could smell that. We need I need Apple to invent some sort of smelling technology. I want to smell your loaves, Jack.
Hey now. That's after the tickle fight, my friend.
But yeah, so where were we going to?
But I guess that, like,
who facilitate, like, is it, you were saying, like, okay, good health means sleep. Who's the facilitator in that scenario of, if I got better sleep, I would be healthier, but I'm at the mercy of my kid's schedule. Well, who's the facilitator of that thing that you need? Then you were saying, like, is all you really need just like a, hey man, you're doing great,
right? Like,
and okay.
Who is that person blaming for their bad health? And we're going to say the opposite of good is bad. They're saying they have bad. Who are they blaming for the
kids?
They're blaming their kids. Their kids are, right, like,
innocent bystanders of this whole thing.
Right. Like, so God, my life would be so much better if I wasn't married and didn't have kids. Right? Like, man, well, I think
what if Nicole walked in right at that moment?
Well, it was conceived. But like, that's amen, brother.
Like, feelings mutual, there, sir.
Right. But that again, the pattern being, it's not me, it's not my fault. I'm the victim here of all of these scenarios and all of these things that are outside of my control. Cool. So I guess I'm at the mercy of my kid's schedule. Like, well, you go back in the time machine, don't fucking have kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why did you want to have kids in the first place? Like, what is it that you wanted the kids for? Not that everything is utilitarian in nature, but in a sense, it's like, okay, well, you made that choice, that ship sailed, you have children. Like, so what do you do now?
At this point, it's kind of a non-negotiable responsibility. So,
right. So it's here, I'll make it root. We can sell the kids off, get a great deal in Guatemala. They will, probably be able to buy a new boat, maybe even get that condo downtown you were looking for, right? Really pad the 401k. Like, you got all kinds of options selling those little humans into, chattel slavery. But do you want the kids?
Yeah, I like to keep them.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
so
We've
there you
established
go.
that.
You've established that. What else do you want?
Sleep.
You've determined you can't have that. You right? You in the scenario have determined you can't have that.
Have I determined that I can't have it at all, or do I need to think more about what that actually means? I mean, I'm also
God,
trying sleep to
it's
help.
interesting. Explore that further. What do you mean by that?
Well, my kids go to bed at 9 o'clock and they're up at 7.
Okay.
And so if I want time, if I want to get sleep, well, if I want time for myself, I need to get it after the hours of 9 and before the hours of 7. And
Sounds
so
like
that
a plan to me.
and so really if I want time for myself, okay, the kids are in bed by 9 and I'm up till 11 and then they're up at 7.
What were you doing from 9 to 11?
Oh, there's this great did you see History of the World Part 2 is on Hulu?
I don't know what that is.
You know what History of the World Part 1 is? Mel Brooks?
Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
Like
Yeah.
this. I'm sorry, I'm dipping a little bit into reality, but also
Yeah.
let's just play the scenario because that's probably what I'm doing. History of the World Part 2 is on Hulu now. It's an 8-part series, an hour-long episode each. I'm probably going to be watching that,
Okay, cool.
and so it's my time to get to watch my shows, watch my stories.
Did that improve your health?
No, it didn't, Jack.
Did it get you your bar muscle up?
No, it didn't, Jack.
Was it worth it to you?
It felt like it in the moment, but now I'm kind of actually tired, and I'm not anywhere. I'm still using bands on my pull-ups.
Okay. So somebody who says that they want something, but then their actions actually move them further away from the thing that they stated they wanted. If they were to say that to you, what would you think of that person's desires or their stated goals? What would you, if somebody that worked for you, or a friend or a sibling or a one of your kids came to you and said what you just said to me, how would you respond to them?
I guess the question is this really what you want? Because you're not working, like these are not things that are getting you towards what you want. So is that really what you want?
And do you feel like you deserve everything you want and yet without having to do anything to get it?
Again, this is a scenario. I am not this type of person, but let's say I said, yeah, look, I work hard all day. I I'm with the kids and I'm, at my job, and then I get home and I'm cleaning up after dinner. I deserve, some time to relax.
Okay.
Cool. But I also deserve a muscle up because I've been doing this CrossFit thing for like 3 years now. Where's my muscle up?
Totally agree.
You told me you would help me get fitter and stronger. And I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I still don't even have a pull-up. How am I going to get a muscle up?
I want you to turn around and look at the white pyramid that's over your left shoulder.
This little guy right here?
Uh-huh. What's at the bottom of that pyramid?
Nutrition. Also, I'm learning how to read. Nutrition.
Oh. I never learned to read.
I never even learned how to read.
Of the five things listed on that pyramid, which one do you think is the most important to you?
Which one's the most important to me?
Yeah.
Well, I keep talking about that pull-up. So that gymnastics right there is the one that I keep talking about.
So what keeps that pull-up from falling to the ground? Visually, just looking at the way a pyramid physically works, what keeps that pull-up from falling to the ground?
My metabolic conditioning and my nutrition.
Excellent. When's the last time you've weighed and measured and tracked your food?
Does measuring a pint of Ben and Jerry's count? I had a pint of Ben and Jerry's watching History of the World Part 2 on Hulu, now streaming.
So, can you honestly tell me that if I were to say you can either have the pull-up in 6 months or you can watch History of the World Part 1 or 2 or whichever? Or maybe even I'll give you this. You can have the pull-up in 3 months or get rid of, wait, you can have the pull-up in 3 months, but you have to delete your Instagram account today.
I still have my kids.
Yeah, you get to keep your kids because that's illegal. I can't tell you to sell your kids.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to jail together. We're going to be sharing a cell, and I'm not going to jail today. So. Plus, I think that's completely amoral and unethical and just wrong. I mean, it's just bad. I mean, your kids don't deserve you being.
Look, I'm not one to judge, but that's kind of disgusting human. That's a disgusting human being right there. Right. But I'm not judging.
But I mean, it's right in line with like the philosophical trolley problem of like, right? Like, you know what I mean? That there's like one person on the track and you can move the lever and you're on the track that's going to kill 5 people, but you got to move the lever to switch to the track to kill the one person. What do you do?
Yeah.
Well, what's and then we could change it. We can be like, the person is from, like, you know,
there's a group of 5.
They're an Eagles fan, right? On the track. Switch it immediately.
Eagles
right?
fan.
Of the 5, like one of them cures cancer in 5 years. One of them, saves a million kids from malaria. Blah blah blah. Like easy to switch it. So all it is, it's just it's the what are the ethical and moral levers? It's really just ethics and morality are complete illusions. Anyway, whatever. But right, like, okay, so I'm artificially creating a scenario of how much do you really want, and we're making it. We got rid of the bar muscle up because I mean, seriously, you don't even have to pull up yet. So, we don't even have one strict pull up yet, so I don't even know we should really be talking about the bar muscle up. Anyway, but
get that pull up.
I will make a deal with you that I will work with you deliberately to get you that strict pull up in 3 months, but you have to delete your Instagram account and all access to Instagram from your phone, from your computer, whatever. Delete the account, all your hidden accounts, your private, your whatever account, delete it today, and then we'll start working on the pull up.
So the answer is, do I really want that? How bad do I really want that pull up?
No, I'm not even going to ask you that question.
No, that's too
touchy.
You
mean actually make you take personal responsibility for your choices? That's crazy talk, my friend.
So you throw that scenario, I have to ask myself the question, well, do I really want that pull up, or do I really just want that empty, vapid social media world?
Sure. Right.
Yeah. We'll say, sure, I want the pull up.
Delete it. Sweet.
There we go.
I'll see you here Monday.
Cool. All right. Awesome.
Cool. Right. And it could be small steps like that. Like it could be these little things. But my question would be, why was it so easy for you to make that choice?
No.
What made right? Like what made that so easy right then to make that choice to delete that social media account?
Having that conversation, I mean, it was about personal responsibility when you break it down to like, are you really doing things? Like you probably, if someone's in that scenario where they're saying they want this thing and they're not getting it, and then you're like, well, you just kept asking questions. What is
who made the choice for them?
Oh,
in that scenario,
I made the choice.
No, you didn't.
You made the choice.
I made it for you. I created a if then, right? Like I created a duality of like, do you really want to pull up, or do you want social media? Right? Well, it's easy. We'll get rid of it. Right? That's easy.
Yeah.
So how often in our lives does something external to us make it that easy, that clear, right? Like, and think of just going back to the kids scenario of like, well, I'm at the mercy of my kid's schedule. You're at the mercy of your kid's schedule because you don't do that for your kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, we let the boundaries blur, and it's because they're tired and we're humans and they're little humans. But in their little world, in their little mind, they're not worried about taxes, the mortgage, the lawn being overgrown, your mother-in-law coming to visit in 2 weeks, the car needing the oil change next week, whatever. All they want is the fucking cookie, right? And they're just like, Dad, I want the cookie. Can I have the cookie? Come on, Dad, come on, give me the cookie. You're like, no, you don't get the cookie. Can I have the cookie? Can we stop? Please, when we go to Target, can we, you're in Target. Can we go to the toy section? Why can't we go to the toy section? Can we get something? I want to get something. And you're thinking like, why the fuck am I in Target again? I hate Target. I told her I hate Target. I told her I don't want to go to Target. I told her I hate parking at Target. Why does it always happen this way? And it's on Saturday. And I had planned this Saturday to be able to work out with my friends. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Can we have the cookie? Get the goddamn toy. I don't care. Right? And the kids are, oh my God, right? But what does the kid get?
They got what the thing that they've been hounding you for.
Right. Because in their mind, it's toy or not. And now we get to go to bread again.
Ooh,
Well, I almost broke. I almost broke this cool little dish, this little egg dish. That guess where we got it?
Where?
Target.
That's yeah, like it's yeah, that's so true. Like how many times it's funny because I've put myself in that scenario more times than I care to admit. But like you said, though, we're also humans. Like we eventually get worn down.
Yeah.
And the kids, and it's one thing too, kids, it's hard in the moment too, because you don't want to disappoint your kid, but also kids, they want those boundaries, and their job is to push boundaries. Like if kids had a job, their job is to push boundaries and find those limits.
And I would and I would say yes, because they're figuring out what yeah, like who's in charge of this joint? Who's actually running the show? Because I don't think it's this chucklehead who's telling me I can't get a license, right? Like,
yeah, like and so I think just like anything else, you're right. Like that's as much as I can blame my kid, they just wouldn't stop hounding me, and they kept asking, and I'm like tired. And I still got in the car and drove them there and got the thing.
So in the end, whose job is it to really abide by that middle word of the three? Right? If we come back to this coaching scenario again of the person like, I want the bar muscle up, I don't get enough sleep, my health isn't where it's supposed to be, blah, 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 blah. Whose job is it to truly be consistent?
Mine.
Yeah.
The one looking for these things.
No.
No,
So when you if I'm the purveyor of this methodology and this product, and I've got this person that, right, like you're asking,
it's my job. It's my job as the coach to provide, like, this is the standard that I hold. This is where I need you to meet me. I'm going to meet you here. I'm here. You meet me here. I'm going to uphold this standard. No questions asked. I just need you to get there. And the rest will take care of itself.
Right. Because the rest of the world, the rest of this person's life, they have to constantly be making those choices.
Yeah.
Right. So the best thing that I would say this false place of consistency can offer is that consistency without apology, without deviation, without any sort of we'll just say without apology and without deviation, because then there's a sense of trust and fairness and flexibility and variability and fluidity by the CrossFit coach to find creative ways to meet the person where they are, to get them to that standard of consistency.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's it. Okay, well, the rule is if you don't get at least 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep, you are not allowed to come here and do a workout. The rule is if you don't show me at the end of a 7-day period 1 meal a day that you weighed and measured and hit 30, 30, 40 protein, fat, carbohydrates, you don't get to come work out the next day, right? Like these are artificially arbitrary, like blah, 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 whatever rules. But it's a, look, I'm going to make it an if then quid pro quo statement because it helps the person it clarifies the choice for them until they're ready to actually dig into and explore like what it is. And this is in with addiction, with whatever, right? Like look, you don't have to figure anything out. Your next choice is go to a meeting. And until that next meeting, which is at 3 p.m. today, and it's 10:30 in the morning. So stay sober until that next meeting. That's it. Like that's all you got to do. When somebody is in the dredges of alcoholism or addiction or whatever, it's that simple because the person, the addict, is unable to delineate between good and bad choices anymore. So you just remove the choices until habituation of the good choice, and we're qualifying good choice is the choice that leads to this person's stated goals, objectives, desired end state, whatever it is, right? So I want better health. All right, well, first we better define what the fuck better health means for you. I want more sleep. All right, more money. We better fucking define, like, hey, you make $185,000 a year. How much more money do you need? Right? Like, well, I got the boat. I got the house in Malibu. I got this. I got that. I'd be like, get the fuck out of my gym. Or I'm charging you $650 a month.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's that choice. Like it's easy because right, like you clearly do not know how to prioritize your money.
Yeah.
So right, like those, like that, put that off to the side as far as other questions are concerned. But like, so in my response to this is, I'm gonna just make it real clear for you. Do this or don't. There is a freedom in not having to make the choice. Get depth in the air squat or don't. And you're paying me to be the sole judge and jury on what is, if you're hitting depth or not. It's all a perfect example. I wanted to fucking fight you when you told me I needed to do one more handstand push-up in the open on Friday.
Yeah.
And then I stopped. I'm like, what are you doing, idiot? Just do the handstand push-up. It's going to take me 15 seconds at most to do it. And I'm gonna hit that 185-pound bar anyway, and I'm not going to be able to do them. So it doesn't matter. I'm like, right? Like I was a moment of just absolute clarity and humor. Like I was like it totally was like, wow, we're all subject to it. Like we all can fall victim to thinking we know best when the reality is like, maybe I did it or not. There's no camera. We didn't film it. I have no idea. The fact is, you're probably right. Like because right, like I'm in the midst. My heart rate's elevated. Who knows if I counted correctly? But bottom line is, I outsource the responsibility of being the judge to you. Therefore, the deal is, I got to do what the judge says. And you said do one more handstand push-up. I could have stood there and fought with you, and that would have been awesome. And then you'd be like, hey, dude, do whatever you want. I'm not counting another rep until you do the next handstand push-up, right? So I would say, like, for me personally, who thinks I know this shit, like, holy crap, we still fall victim to it. And so if I find myself starting to display similar, like, oh, God, I just never have time in the morning. Oh, I can't believe I got to do, right? Like all these things that place me in quote unquote victim mode, a cat would be like, whoa, too many choices.
Right.
Real simple. Before you get to do this, you have to do this. Before, right? Like that sort of quid pro quo habituation. And the second that happens, all of a sudden it's like, it seems to create a lot more space than I thought it would have.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're looking at it from the outside.
It's true. It's funny kind of going, this goes back because it's the episode we did a couple weeks ago talking about talking about nutrition, right?
Yeah.
What is nutrition? And like I've been thinking about that one a lot. And then like it's funny, I listened to this this other podcast, Diary of a CEO. Have you ever listened to that podcast?
Sounds familiar.
No,
maybe that's Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I don't know.
The CEO may have been a wimpy kid at one point. But he had this woman on. I swear I listened to it was when I drove down to Georgia to get fees. So it was like 2 days later. It was this woman talking about she herself is like a psychologist, and she deals with like addiction, and she's helped a lot of people with their nutrition and stuff. But she herself was like overweight, and she had so much shame that at one point she got like a secret lap band surgery because she had so much shame, and that she herself was carrying all this weight. And she's from her whole life, she's been told like she needs a diet, or she needs this right food, or she needs she said it eventually just kind of clicked with her that she's like, I need to take accountability for myself. I have a relation. It comes down to the relationship with food thing, right? Like she would make the decision to, and you had said this too, she made the decision to eat the third slice of pizza. And she would always like give into that. And she knew that like she had these things that she wanted to do, and it was either eat the slice of pizza or don't eat the slice of pizza. If I want this thing,
do it.
Then do it.
Right.
But also know that if I want this over here, then this may not need to be there. And
Good. Sorry.
It came down to the personal response, taking some personal responsibility. I can't constantly blame everyone else for my scenarios. She was blaming her mom for always making her do this, and there's definitely like baggage there that someone has to deal with and confront, and way outside my pay grade. But like you said,
I think what's difficult. What's difficult, and sorry to interrupt you, is to tease out like, so for some people that scenario. That's like a right. That's a 2-pound lift, right? Nutrition choices are like 2-pound lifts. For some people, that's 1,000-pound deadlift choice, right? And so that's, I think, where the variability is,
right?
And that the nuance of what we're talking about. Like for some people, for me, I don't care. Like money is not something that preoccupies. Like paying
doesn't
people
drive
back, getting paid back, right? Like, yeah, it's something I see is so artificial that it's just a medium by which to. But I've also never wanted for money in a sense, right? Like, middle class white suburban man from somewhere in America, right? Like paint the picture of privileged. But then I joined the military when I was fucking 18, and I got a paycheck every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Or every, 1st and 15th of every month since I was 18 years old, and will perpetually for the rest of my life. So it's like, so in that sense, it's something that's never been,
it's something you've never wanted for. So it's
right. And so it's so simple for me to say to somebody, I want more money, and they make $185,000 a year or whatever. Who knows? Like, I don't know where that is so myopic of me to judge that person and to then qualify the things that they're saying without asking, like, well, what does more mean for you? Right. So that's even like in this scenario of, so with like the nutrition thing, like, well, what does it feel like when you're going to get that third piece of pizza? Right. Because then I'm actually being curious about what it is that's driving that person. And I'd be willing to bet that when push comes to shove, the emotional drive for the person to make a choice that is in deviation from the direction of reaching their stated goal, whatever that emotion is, there's probably only 2 or 3 or maybe 4 that everybody shares.
Yeah.
Fear, loneliness, shame, and I'm trying to remember what the 4th one is. And I didn't make these. Like Brene Brown has a whole thing on this, and other like there's older psychologists and social psychologists, whatever. But like, so if we can get at that and have the person recognize like, well, actually, I have that 3rd piece of pizza because I'm just ashamed that I blah 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 blah. I'd be like, well, this is most certainly out of the scope of my professional expertise. But what I would offer to you is maybe a distraction, maybe a obstacle that you put in the way before you're in that moment of having to make that hard choice, right? Like when the pizza arrives, get yourself, like have the piece of Tupperware available and put your 2 pieces that you're going to eat in it, and then take one out, slice it in half, put the one back, and now
which I'm sure some people just sounds ridiculous, but
of course it's ridiculous, but so is the emotion that they're feeling.
Right. Like sometimes that's what people need to do for themselves. And so it sounds crazy, but that is a person that is going back to taking personal responsibility, as ridiculous it may look to you.
Right. Because they're making that choice before they reach that state of extreme
where they know they might set themselves up to lose.
Right. So so you could co-design strategies for the person about sleep. You could co-design strategies for the person who wants the bar muscle up. There's a video of a dude on Instagram recently that I saw.
Just a lead of mine.
Of the 2 years, right? Oh God, I gotta make a new account. I'm gonna lose all those selfies and pictures of my food that nobody gives a shit about. So the 2-year lead up to him getting a bar muscle up, and it's like it for the first maybe, and I think it's like 10 seconds long, 15 seconds long, which clearly is like the first 23 and a half months of his progression.
Yeah,
they look the same. They're really shitty kips and a really shitty pull to his hips, pull to his chest, pull to his hips, pull to his chest, pull to his chest. Same thing. His last 3, you're like, oh, he finally figured it out. And I'm totally guessing. I don't know this, but
right.
I've done this a couple times with people. The first 90% of the process is going to feel exactly the same. It's going to feel absolutely miserable. You're going to feel like you're making 0 progress. You're not going to see any improvement. You're never going to know if it's ever going to end. And you'll feel like you're never going to get to your stated goal. And then all of a sudden, in the last 10%, there will be this moment of like, oh my God, I totally feel the difference. Oh my God, now I can see how I get there. And then you'll get there, right? It's not designing a habit to get that last 10%, because that last 10% is going to come. It's designing the habit to get through the first 90% of shitstorm. And that's habituation. That's like, all right, I have to put these other things in place to do this. And so it comes down to, which means you're not going to be able to do everything. You're going to have to say no to 90% of the things that you say you want, if you really want this thing.
You really want this one thing.
This illusion, our capitalistic illusion of I deserve and I can have everything I want, might be at the root of this feeling that I'm allowed, I deserve to have the kids, to have a job, to have this, to have that, to not give up my TV, my Instagram, my whatever, and I should still have I still deserve 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Right? It's like, dude, you just described a 47-hour day.
Yeah.
And last time I checked, that's going to be about 185 years long. Like, last time I checked, like, we're mortal and fucking shit's finite. Like, you got to pick. And the fact that you're picking one thing means you've given up on an infinite amount of other things. So why are you picking the one thing? What is it about it that really makes you want it? And that, I don't know. That's a much harder question than, well, what am I supposed to eat?
Right.
It doesn't matter what you eat. It's not about what you eat, man. Like, you got a different question to ask yourself.
Yeah. That's true. It's yeah, I think it's kind of, when we said that one day, it's like, it's simple, but it's not that simple. Like, it's the like, when, like, I want to get to that first pull up. Well, I can tell you what you need to get. Like, I can tell you what exercises you can do to get you to that pull up, which sounds simple, but it's, like you said, that question is like, well, why do you want that? What does that actually do for you? And that's
Right.
the harder part. Like,
they've talked about this in the open a couple times. Some of the folks I've been listening to, which I really enjoyed, about strict handstand push-ups. So I, as an athlete, was able to finish. I only had to do one set because I couldn't lift the 185-pound bar. Certainly not 9 times in 52 seconds,
yeah, whatever,
56 seconds, whatever I had. Yeah. But those 20 handstand
push-ups, you didn't
push-ups,
have to do that extra rep. It would have saved your shoulders. I don't know.
right, exactly. You cost me that snatch. But the 20 hands, and I mean, you watched me, you had to judge me. They weren't problematic. They weren't an issue. They took less than 2 minutes. They were 1:35, and I've been working on them.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I've also been working on them for like 7 years. And with those strict handstand push-ups have also come better. And actually, I haven't even really been working on strict handstand push-ups a whole lot. I've been doing a boatload of shoulder mobility and rehabilitation, position work, accessibility of an overhead, externally rotated shoulder, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's always that, like, okay, to get the bar muscle up, the person actually has to work on a hollow and an arch. But working on the hollow and the arch doesn't feel like you're working on the bar muscle up.
Yeah.
So it's also orienting, like, what does getting the thing actually get you? Right? Like, if the person can't answer that, then I would offer maybe they don't really know what the thing is. Like, they don't actually want the thing. They just want to want the thing.
Maybe they want the recognition of being able to do the thing.
Yeah, or they just want that
validation of the thing.
Yeah. Like, I'm the type of person who works towards a bar muscle up. Right? Like, and they can, I'm working towards that bar muscle up. I'm working towards that bar muscle up. Right? It'd be like, Spike, man, you've been working towards that bar muscle up for 5 years.
We still need to go back to your wall ball, man.
Yeah. Fiona's 4. So when you started working for that bar muscle up, she wasn't even born yet. She can do a bar muscle up. I'm pretty sure if you really wanted the bar muscle up, you'd have it by now.
You'd have it.
So do you really want the bar muscle up, or is there something else going on? And if it's just that, hey man, I see you working, you got it. I'm giving it to you. I give that to you for free. But then it's not worth anything. So that's not really what they want.
Yeah. That's fun.
Did that tickle your fancy?
That tickled.
Yeah.
It definitely tickled. So at the end of the day, what you're saying is, if you really want something, it comes down to how much. Think about why you want that thing, and do you really want that, and what does that thing mean?
Yeah. Right.
And are you actually willing to do the things that require, or not do the things that require you to get to that thing?
Yeah. And, and as somebody explores that question, are you, if you're the person that they're asking
Coming
those
to.
questions of and coming to, are you the right person to provide them the resources, the time, the opportunity to reach those things? Right? That's also, I think, part of that. Be curious, be consistent, be courageous. Because if somebody's like, I want to do this, this, and this, and then recognize, like, tell you what, man, I can't guarantee that the thing I'm providing or offering is going to give you the time, space, resources, accountability, whatever. Like that, um, I can't, or in my experience, you won't be best served here, and you need to know that before you make your choice to continue. Right? Like, because if somebody asked for like all of these things, nutrition counseling and one-on-one training and blah 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 blah, blah like loaded up, and they're like, hey man, I got the money, I'm willing to pay. Can you actually say with consistency and with a level of service and attention, right? And that's also a very hard lift to make emotionally, to say, I can't provide that. It's saying no. It's like, no, that will violate a boundary that I've established for myself, to say that I will meet the promises that inherently I'm making by saying yes.
It's deep.
Yeah. It's hard, but I mean, that's right. And then
that's the relationship, though.
It does. And then maybe the person says, like, oh, wow, I really appreciate you saying that. But the simple fact is, I don't want to go anywhere else. So then my answer is like, well, then is that shit really that important to you? Like,
calibrate.
Yeah. Or is there a different way that maybe we can get there within the bounds of what I'm actually able to offer? Right? Like that sense of, and now the reciprocity of the relationship is in a shared recognition of how you can each be of service to each other. Because maybe the person says, like, it's a really good point. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do some research on nutrition counseling or nutrition coaching services, and I'm going to try a bunch out, and I'll come back to you and see if any of them are of use to you, right? And now you just have somebody for free doing market research for you and testing it out, right? Like, yeah, exactly. And it loops us all the way back to your testimonial thing. Just want people to be doing testimonials for you. And I'm pretty sure if you ask them to just do testimonials, they fucking do testimonials.
Yeah.
But by gamifying it, and which also serves a purpose and is a very valid approach for certain, right, within the bounds of certain things, but it also create, and this is the devil's advocate, it does create a sense of not dishonesty, but subterfuge.
Define subterfuge.
That you have ulterior motives for what the video testimonial is. Because on the surface, it's just for the game. It's for the competition of getting points for your team. And somebody comes back and is like, oh, I really want to support you and I want to do this, but whatever. And then you have to say, like, okay, well, you don't get any points, but thanks for doing the testimonial, because all you really wanted was the testimonial. Or you give the person points for the game, and then the person who's actually playing the game's like, that's bullshit. The rules were it had to be a video. And it's like you've opened the door for, like, fuck, all I wanted was testimonials, people. Right? So it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah,
there's no perfect answer. There's no right answer.
When you make a game, or when you put points on it,
yeah.
When you put winning or losing on the end of it, then people will challenge the game.
Right.
Right. So
it's the same thing with the stupid thruster in the Open this year. Why did they change the standard from 2012? Right? You can't move your feet.
Can't move your feet.
Right? It starts at the bottom of the squat, one fluid motion, no rebend, can't move your feet once you start. That's it. It's very simple, because now people stepping, Well, are they stepping and rebending? Is it just a step? Like what, right? Like, does that step give you the extra little momentum?
They said no rebend.
Right, they did, because that's a jerk.
Say anything about your step.
Yeah, by definition, the rebend is a jerk, but the step, doesn't it give you a little bit of momentum to get through?
That's a good question.
No, it's physics. Like it does. And this is Chase Ingram's issue. And I totally agree with them. They had a fine standard. There's an aspect of, and this, I trust Bosman and the team that he surrounded himself with, and think like there's no maliciousness. It's just, it was like they were trying to simplify it for a larger population that isn't going to have very good eyes on them and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And bottom line, the top 10% isn't going to make a difference whether you step through or not. If you got 5 extra pounds, if those 5 extra pounds determine whether you make it to quarterfinals or not, you ain't moving on from quarterfinals, my friend. Right? Like it's not really in the grand scheme of the arc of the Open, but it has opened room unnecessarily for what you're the gamifying of, because there's an absence of transparency of why they changed it, why they changed the rule like that. So it's like, all right, just be transparent. Just like,
which could have been a typo.
Right, exactly.
So we didn't mean to take that out. It was an oversight.
Right, exactly. And it's like, okay, cool. No big deal. But the game started and whatever. And the other 99.9% things that they've done correct, cool. Like who fuck cares? Like, it was a thruster. But it goes in the same category of we're human. We will all fall short of perfection and virtue, virtue for virtue's sake. But none of those things that you listed are true ends in of themselves.
Right.
Money is not an end in of itself. It just leads to another end. Bar muscle up, not an end in itself, right? Because if I got 1 bar muscle up, what's the next thing I want?
Another bar muscle up.
And then what's the next thing I want? 5 unbroken. And then what's the next thing I want? 10 unbroken, or 5 unbroken after doing 50 double unders. Oh shit, now I need a double under, right? Like, at no point do they ever yield what, and again, this is Aristotelian virtue ethics, happiness. Happiness is its end, is the only end in of itself. And so if you're truly looking for happiness, none of those things are going to yield that happiness if they're not done with some sort of clear, conscientious intention of what it is they are, what it is you expect them to give you. Cool. Anyway, but that's my reading, my uneducated, reading of something like Aristotle, which, I mean, he owned slaves, for God's sake. So why are we listening to him?
Haven't they all at this point? Yeah. Haven't they all?
And I don't eat 3 pieces of pizza. I eat the whole pizza.
Yeah.
I eat pizza, and I feel ashamed of myself.
We're talking Rocco slices or Lido slices? Because if you're eating 3 slices of Lidos, you ain't even trying.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the person who brings home like a slice of pizza from Vin 909, are you serious? Like, what? That's a waste of a box.
Did you remember half the dinner roll that you didn't finish either?
Yeah, right. You want that half a power bar I stuck in the fridge
from 1998? Power bars? Are they still a thing?
The person who wraps up a quarter of a pepper, right? Like, are you serious? Just finish the goddamn pepper.
Come on.
I'll open my fridge and I'll show you. There's like 3 half cut into cucumbers. So you know how the cucumbers come wrapped in the plastic, when you buy them, like the 3 of them. So I buy them, and when I bring the groceries in, I make sure like the old food is put on top. So I'll take it out of the drawer or whatever, and I'll put the new food in, and then put the old food back on top. And so I go to do that the other day after groceries, and there's like 2 cucumbers still wrapped up, and then 3 cucumbers half cut into. And so Nicole's sitting at the counter, and I pull them out, and I'm like, I'm no judgment. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here, and if there's something that I could do to help facilitate stopping it. and I pull out, and she goes, Didn't even know that was a thing. Didn't even know that existed in the drawer. And I'm like, you're the only one eating cucumbers. And she goes, oh no, I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware that all of that is my doing.
I know it's mine. I just didn't know.
I just didn't know I was doing it. And it was so funny and so like it was awesome. And I said, and actually, and immediately in the moment, because my concern is eventually what happens is one of them gets buried, and we're wasting food, and that irritates me. That pisses me off just because it feels wasteful and blah blah blah, whatever. But she goes, and so maybe I'm going right into my gratitude. Immediately she goes, well maybe because the half a pepper thing was driving me nuts, and so I said, look, you're chopping up the pepper. I know you don't want to take the whole pepper. Just finish chopping the rest of it. Throw it in a Tupperware thing. Chuck it in the fridge. I'll eat it. Now, win-win for me. I don't have to cut the pepper, and we're not wasting, and it dries out because it's just sitting in there. And she immediately goes with the cucumber. She goes, when I chop up my cucumber, I'll just slice or skin and slice the other half and throw it in Tupperware. And I was like, thank you. That's awesome. Like immediately went right to a solution without judgment around like, hey, F you, it's not that big of a deal. But it was that like shared understanding of like reciprocity that I truly meant it when I was like, I don't push comes to shove, I really don't care. If it was one, that would be like, that's funny. If it was two, it'd be like, that's weird. It was three, like a half, a 3/4, and like just over a quarter size. And I'm like, is it just that I don't want to finish the whole one or something? Like and so it's like, what can we do? And there we got to it. And that's the gratitude, is getting to a state in a relationship where you defer to the other person has your best interest and their best interest at heart in everything, even when it comes across as fuck them. Like what? Hold on. We've already established it. They're asking the question, and I'm going to just assume the best before I assume the worst. And that's, to me, what that exchange immediately signified, because you got to work at that. Because as we said, in my opinion, you got to work at that. What we said, it's so much easier to vilify people, because then I don't have to take responsibility for what's happening because it's their fault, because they're the villain. Because villains are always at fault, except when they're Thanos. It wasn't his fault, man. He was just trying to make the universe a better place for everybody.
He was trying to make it better.
I mean, it's not his fault that those pesky little earthlings couldn't get over themselves of like, oh, look at what we lost. Half the population. There's whales in the Hudson, man. Come on.
Interesting fact. Did we talk about this at one point? With that, just not to go down this rabbit hole too much. But in the snap, when everyone disappeared, and then when they undid it, everyone reappeared where they were during the snap.
Yeah.
So what about all those people that were like
in the airplane and stuff?
In the airplane, or like right, or like construction workers that were like inside a building while it was being made, and now inside the walls. Like,
well, I heard something totally legit, and I heard something too. I was listening to some philosophy thing or something movie, pseudo philosophy, which is awesome. If he had the power to snap and make half everything go away, why didn't he just snap and double all the resources, or triple all the resources of the universe?
That would have been a lame movie.
So right, like the conceit is not that he's right, like, so it's not a fact of like what you're describing. The problem there isn't that, right? Yes, if you take, but the conflict or the narrative tension that everybody coming back at the moment when they disappeared or when they were snapped away creates a delta of experience and a dichotomy between those who stayed and those who left. And so that tension facilitates years of narrative meat to make more shows about, more movies, more storylines. So it's that's all. So the conceit is enough to create the tension, the gap between those who left and those who stayed, for the sake of Tension. Tension is good for story making. Fun story making.
Fun
If you
story.
start peeling that onion too deep, tension falls apart.
Cry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you'll cry
and you'll cry.
because then you don't get the Winter Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It's true. Or Loki. Loki was good.
Oh, so good.
Loki was good.
And that isn't that the guy that they come across
Like King
now
the
in that.
Conqueror.
Yeah, he's in the Ant-Man.
It's funny. I think maybe it's just been I've I haven't seen that movie yet.
The
And
new Ant-Man.
yeah,
Or-
I haven't seen
yeah,
it
me
yet. It's been
neither.
for a couple weeks now, and I'm usually like on top of those, but I'm almost just like I've kind of with all the content they put out over the last couple of years, I'm just like I can't keep up with all this.
Well, it's also you have to make choices.
Yeah.
Right? Do you get angry and bitter and felt upon that you have to drive down to Georgia to pick up your daughter? Or do you recognize, like, no, this is a great opportunity? And guess what? To be able to do that, to be able to have the time, energy, resources, you don't get to go to the grand opening of a movie that will come out for free, relatively. You're already paying for the subscription on Disney Plus in like 4 to 6 months.
Yeah. 46 months.
That's a long time.
And I will tell you, as long as that trip was, I love that. That was a fun little road trip with Fee.
Fuck yeah, right? Like that's
love like staying in a hotel. Like, do you remember as a kid staying in a hotel? It's like it's a big deal. Like I felt like a big shot staying in a hotel with her.
and it was
like,
just the two of you, right?
just the two of us. Yeah.
Irreplaceable, right? Like you cannot that is I totally agree. It's the same reason why driving down to Florida to pick up Andrew or to take the twins or whatever, like no brainer. That's like easy, right? Like no heroism or like that simple. Such a simple decision. Yes. Yes.
And I think that's I was thinking about because I think my gratitude last week was, my sister-in-law taking Fee for 10 days and throwing another kid on top of the 4 that she already has. But then like Fee, I was so concerned that Megan and I were a little concerned that she was like, man, they're doing so much stuff down there and she's with her cousins. They have all this stuff. And she's gonna have so much fun that she's going to come home and just think we're lame. Right. And she's like, oh, we don't do anything like that. And she was like, the few days leading up to me coming to get her, she was counting down the days. She's like, 4 more days till I come home. And she came home and she said she was happy to be home. And she's like, she missed us. And she was excited. Like she couldn't wait to see Everett. And she's so happy to be home. Like, cause it's one of those, like, as much as you love vacations, it's always nice to come back to where you were. But she's just been, like, yeah, she had a great time, but she keeps telling us how much like she's glad to be home and she missed this and that. And it's my gratitude. I don't know if my gratitude forever will be Fiona, but yeah, it's like that. I don't know what my gratitude is exactly. Just that I'm thankful that we have created a home that, like, after all that excitement, that she is so happy to come back to.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, you guys are lame and are boring. No, she's excited. So that kid.
You guys are pretty cool, man.
I try, but she is that little kid. She is a carbon copy of me and will be for the rest of her life. And I hope she understands that I did everything. I don't know. It's one of those like.
Well, I mean, if she grows a beard as well as yours, she has got a career in the circus. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
She does like to climb things, so like she could be a trapeze artist and the bearded lady.
And the bearded lady, double duty, right? Yeah, totally.
So,
double threat.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome.
And she's super bendy, so triple threat.
Yes, yes, she is. She's like, Dad, look at this thing I can do. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. She goes, you can try it. I was like, no.
Nope. Our insurance is not good enough.
Good stuff. Cool.
All right. Well, I hope.
Thanks, brother.
You're welcome. I hope that didn't offend or alienate too many people or you or anyway.
I don't know. I hope not.
We should think about getting some guests.
Yeah.
I feel like the listening audience of 4 will get tired of just the 2 of us chatting. So maybe if anybody has any ideas for guests that you would like to see or hear on the program, then yeah.
I used to have I said we have Mary on to promote her. She's going to start her seniors class.
Oh, cool.
Up and running, and she's trying to come up with a name for it. And she jokingly called it the fossils class once. I was like, that absolutely needs to be the name.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We can't call it that. She's like, we can't call it that. Like, no, you absolutely can, because it's it's just a great name. And Mary said once herself that she's like, this should be like a cradle to grave thing, like this taking the CrossFit cradle to grave. I was like, you said it, cradle to grave. And but also she was talking to like Kate Brew's mom is interested in it. She called it fossils. Her mom thought it was great. And I say, if anything, I feel it really fits like Fairwinds. It's like
Fairwinds fossils. That's
Fairwinds
amazing.
It flows.
It's so alliterative.
And then it's also like a, hey, we're here for this thing to keep you healthy and strong and keep you from having someone else wipe your ass one day. But also, hey, don't take yourself too seriously. Like
well, it's also
time, right. And it's
the things that are fossils are the things generally that made it. You know what I mean? Like they were the dominant in that species, because all the rest of the things either got thrown to the side or deteriorate. So it's like the reason, there's so much room.
We know that they exist because
because they made it. Because they were the dominant thing. So, god dang, I'd love to be a fossil someday.
Dude, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We're going to roll with that. That's awesome.
There you go.
I'm going to throw that at Mary. She's going to have, at the end of the day, like it's her program, but I get final say. Because it is
I say who, I say when, I say who.
She's lucky I haven't fired her yet today anyway. So.
Oh, jeez. Jar, man. Jar yourself. HR jar, buddy.
Mary, at this point, if I don't fire Mary, she thinks something's wrong. I think it was a quick side note. One time when Sarah first started, I think like the first day, like she coached on her own, she forgot to lock like the side door that goes to the bathroom.
You're like, I do it all the time. I've left the garage door open
Make sure you lock that door before you lock up. I was like, but just so you know, I am going to have to fire Mary. It's the only way you're going to learn.
That was really funny.
So a lot of the interns get fired over, just so Mary gets fired so they learn a lesson.
Mary gets fired all the time.
She's willing to make that sacrifice. So she's a team player, that Mary Faye.
She is.
So anyway, Fairwinds fossils, put it out there. They're
Fairwinds fossils, man.
We know they're there because of the ones that lasted. They were the dominant species. Damn, that's good. That's good shit.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Cool.
That one's free.
Thanks, brother.
Got to charge you for the next one.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're gonna be getting a visit from my Uncle Vito.
I'll Venmo you $5. Awesome.
All right, man.
All right, my dude.
Have a good week.
Same time next week?
Always.
Let's do it.
All right. Adios.